This episode of Her Money Moves is presented by Cricket, celebrating Latina entrepreneurs. Hey, Money Movers. Wow, do we have an incredible episode in store for you. Sandra Velasquez, the powerhouse behind Nopalera, has mastered the art of raising capital and scaling a brand with deep cultural roots. Sandra is here to talk about building wealth for Latina entrepreneurs, not just surviving, but thriving and claiming a seat at the table. If you're a Latina founder or aspiring to be one, this episode will inspire you to think big and aim higher. All right, Money Movers, I have been so excited anticipating this episode because Sandra Velasquez from Nopalera has energy like no other, and we've been seeing her with her fierce, amazing brand just breaking so many barriers in the beauty industry. How did it all begin?
Well, before Nopalera, just to rewind, I was a professional musician. So I had no inclination or vision that I would become a beauty entrepreneur. No one in my family is an entrepreneur. I think actually my parents think that business is risky. Like, why would you go and start something new when you could just go work for the county and get a 401k and retire and get a pension? So I was actually a professional musician. I was a lead singer, songwriter, band leader of a band called Pistolera. And I opened for Los Lobos, Lila Downs. I toured around the world. I released 3 studio albums. I had my music on Breaking Bad. I still get royalty checks to this day from Breaking Bad. And then COVID happened, and everyone's music career ended overnight. Similar to like the restaurant business, right? Like that was it. No one was coming. You weren't allowed to go out. You weren't allowed to go to a concert. Fortunately, I had already started to formulate this idea of an aspirational Latina beauty brand called Nopalera. And in music, I used that platform to celebrate our culture, share our stories. I sang in Spanish. It was very, very like female culture, Latina forward. And I just moved that mission over to a product-based business. And it was in the summer of 2019 when I found myself unemployed for the first time in my adult life. I had student loans. My daughter was 13 at the time. And it was, it's in those moments, right, in our life where you really, really find out what you're made of. You're either going to stay down, you're going to complain, you're going to feel sorry for yourself, you're going to just keep doing the same thing and stay stuck, or you're going to imagine a new reality and literally build your way out of it. And so for me, I wasn't qualified to go like get a corporate job or like go become an investment banker. I was like, the only way I'm going to change my life is to build something. And so building a business and becoming an entrepreneur was literally my only way. Like it was the bridge to a new life. And so, I'm in my mid 40s when I have this idea. So I'm like, this brand has to win. This is not going to be like, oh, let me test the waters and see if people like it. No, I'm like, I'm going to begin with the end in mind. I want to decide in advance how I want people to feel when they see this brand, how they engage with it, what problem is it going to solve, where is what I call the brown space opportunity, right? Not the white space opportunity in beauty. And here's the nopal, which, you live in Texas. I grew up in San Diego. There's nopales everywhere. This is like a regular thing. It's not exotic to us. We grew up eating it. And I'm like, why has no one used the nopal as their star ingredient in beauty? Why has aloe vera gotten all the love? Like when the nopal is actually so much more regenerative. Like my parents have the same nopalera in their front yard they've been cutting from for like 20 years. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. You cut off a penca, se quita las espinas, you eat it, and a new one is back in like 3 weeks. Aloe vera doesn't do that, right? So you can eat it. It's like drought friendly, so it can survive anywhere. It doesn't require any resources, and you can use it for your skin and hair to cleanse, hydrate, and you can use it for alternative textiles like making vegan cactus leather. I don't know what any other plant that can do those things. Not bamboo, not aloe vera. You cannot do all of those things. Like literally survive off of this one plant. And so I was like, there is a story here, and it's also so culturally symbolic to us, to those of us from Mexican heritage. Yeah, resilience. Like you cannot get rid of the nopal. It has been here before us. It will be here after us. This is like, so I was like, I'm going to build an aspirational Latina brand. It's going to be so beautiful that people that don't know what a nopal is, that are not Latina, are also going to want in on this brand because it's just this object of desire. It's just beautiful. And so it's always this 2-pronged approach. Like Latinos have to get it. It's going to be like, if you know, you know. But then also the white women of Malibu are going to be like, oh, what's this? It's so beautiful. I want it to. And that's what's happening.
It is beautiful.
Thank you.
Your packaging, your brand, it is so distinct and beautiful always.
Thank you. And that's on purpose, right? So it's I'm like, I don't just want to put goop in a tube, right? There's plenty of commodities out there. There's plenty of soaps and lotions and things already out in the world. But this had to be an object of desire. Obviously, the formulas have to be incredible. They have to perform. Otherwise, people wouldn't buy it again. But it has to also be one of those things that you want to give it as a gift. You want to take a picture of it and post it on socials. You like it displayed on your bathroom counter or like onto your, on your bedside table because it's art.
So what do you think are the biggest misconceptions about Latina entrepreneurs seeking funding? And how can we shift these perceptions?
The biggest misconceptions about Latinos seeking funding. I think it's not so much about the misconception about us seeking the funding. It's more about the opportunity. The number one question I've always received from investors is this only for Latinos? And so after answering that question about 200 times, I just changed my pitch deck and beat people to the punch. And I started just leading with, just as l'Occitane is not only for French people, and olive oil is not only for Italians, and sushi is not only for Japanese people, et cetera, Nopalera is not only for Latinos. So the misconception is that why would someone want to buy Nopalera if they are not Latino? And that, to me, is actually exposing a bias in where that person is. And I'm like, do you live in the world? Do you see that Peso Pluma is on like the top Billboard charts? Do you see that Siete just got acquired for $1.2 billion? Do you see
Bad
that
Bunny.
Modelo is the number one beer in America? Do you see that tortillas sell more than bread? What world do you live in? Because that's the world I live in. To me, it's like the data's all there. This is where the market is going. And there are a few investors that, very few, like I'm going to say 5% of like the total that I've spoken to, that have told me, we see where the market is going. We are looking for a Latina brand. And I'm like, okay, these are the ones that are paying attention, right? They're not just like, let's just keep doing what we've been doing. Look at what's happening now. You know what I mean? And so I think the misconception is that the opportunity is not big and that it's not mainstream. And I'm like,
and we know better.
We know. Everyone's listening to Bad Bunny, whether you know it or not. Everyone is drinking margaritas. Everyone's having taco. Like, our culture is mainstream. And so for me, it's like a weeding out tool. Like, if you don't know that, then I can't really, you're not the right investor because it's going to be too much education to bring you into the current time period that we're in.
So what advice would you give to Latino entrepreneurs who feel discouraged from seeking external funding, or think bootstrapping is their only option?
So for me, I bootstrapped for the first 2 years, and I started with my American Express card. So I started with no money. I made the product myself for the very first year, only because I didn't know how to find manufacturing partners, not because I wanted to be like a home business. And then no bank would give me a loan because we were so new, right? Banks were like, well, show me your 5 years of historicals. I'm like, I just launched. Can you look at the sales? Can you see the traction? I did over $500,000 in sales by myself the first year, and that was me making the product from my Brooklyn apartment.
Wow.
So I'm like, I don't know what other proof you want. I need you to look at the traction, not like where are the 5-year historicals. And so then, thankfully, we have fintech solutions like Shopify Capital who do see your sales because they're running your website, right? They're the website host, and they're like, we want to give you a loan. Great. $50,000, amazing. But eventually that becomes not enough either, right? I couldn't innovate. I couldn't hire. I'm just trying to keep up with the demand. It was just making enough product to get it to the wholesale partners. At that point, we're already like in Nordstrom and Credo, et cetera. And so bootstrapping is fine. I would say, don't be scared of debt. I think sometimes in our community, we're scared of debt. We don't want to owe people anything. But venture capital is owing people a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's not, to me, people glamorize it. Everyone's like, oh, and she raised this. And I'm like, don't clap for me. I raised venture because a bank would not give me a loan. I raised venture because there was no other way to get money. I don't have like a savings. I didn't have like friends and family to pull from. So I was like, I have to go turn to the people that have an abundance of money. And that was VC. So for me, I think it's just like about getting creative, like there's so many ways to get money, and raising money from venture is also not fast and easy. Do you know what I mean? People are like, oh, but grants, it's like so laborious. I'm like, so is raising from venture. It's very laborious and takes a huge emotional toll. I would say one of the gifts that music gave me was the gift of rejection and building that resilience muscle, because you need that as an entrepreneur. Like if you haven't gotten 100 no's, you're not trying.
Oh.
Unless maybe your name is Carlton and you live in Silicon Valley and like John is, just giving you $3 million. You know what I mean? But for us, it's, I think, also and I'm totally not answering your question, by the way. I'm
No,
way
you
going off the
are.
rails.
You're absolutely.
I think we as the founders need to vet investors more. I think sometimes we feel like desperate, like, oh, we need the money, so I'll just answer all your questions. I'll redo my pitch deck a million times. And I have literally met with some angel syndicates who I met with like 7 times. I pitched on Zoom, then there was the in-person, then there was a follow-up, then there was an executive summary, and then it was a no. And I was like, this is so laborious. I should have asked more questions in advance to save myself the time. And those questions are, how many Latinos are in your syndicate? How many Latinos have you invested in? How many women do you have in your fund? How many women have you invested in? Because if the answer is none, 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 then I'm like, okay, so no, this is too big of a mountain to climb because I cannot educate you on the opportunity. Do you know what I mean? So those are questions that I'm asking now, because not all money is good money and not all investors are smart. Honestly, do you know what I mean? I think we sometimes put investors up on a pedestal because they have more money. And I'm like, I have met some investors that are not smart. And I just had a conversation with one the other day, very prominent, like Silicon Valley, and we're talking about formulas. And I'm like, you really think that this brand has a good formula? I'm here to tell you that it doesn't. You think it's good because of the branding. Like, you are believing in marketing, right? And because a lot of investors want to know, like, well, do you have any proprietary blends and what patents do you have? And I'm like, a lot of that is bullshit and beauty. You know what I mean? Like, you are buying things because they are in front of you and because they are branded well and because they are speaking to you. Like, Nike doesn't sell shoes. Nike sells excellence. There's lots of shoes in the world. Why do people choose Nike? So I have a deep understanding and appreciation for brand. And I'm also, that's another thing that I'm kind of searching for when I'm talking to investors. Like, do you understand brand? Or do you think this is really about formulas? Because if you think this is about efficacy, like, I don't have time for you. If you think like the, Clinique and Estee Lauder are winning because of efficacy, no, there's a lot of efficacious products. They're winning because, first of all, they're 100 years old, and also because they are everywhere, and because of the marketing, right? And the clinical results that they have paid for, right? So it makes people feel stupid when they think that they are buying something because they know that it's good instead of that they fell for marketing. Do you know what I mean? And sorry to, rain on the parade, but.
Yeah. Latino-owned businesses tend to have a strong community focus, and you've definitely built a very strong Nopalera community.
Yeah.
Love it. How have you balanced that community loyalty with the drive for growth and profitability?
Yeah, so I think, nowadays, everyone wants a community. Yeah, I think even the legacy brands are like, shoot, how do we get a community? You know what I mean? Because they see brands like ours, like the indie brands coming up and building these incredible communities, right? Loyal customers and fans.
It's like, don't mess with the beehive.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, it's like there's the core customer, right? There's the people that were here first. That there's people that have been here since the beginning. They're like, I've been following you since you had 400 followers, and now we have like 90,000, right? But there's still so many more people to reach, and it's not like an either or, it's a both and. It's like, we always have our community here, right? We always talk to them, we engage with them, we always ask them what do they need, we ask them questions, feedback, and then there's other people that we can continue to reach still to, for profitability, for scale, right? So it's not a trade-off. It's not like, oh, you can either be a community-based brand or you can be a scaled, profitable brand. It's a both and. And I think that is what makes brands like mine attractive to the strategics, because what they want is our community, because they know that it's not about efficacy and formulation. They know because they're running labs, like, all the problems have pretty much been solved. Fine lines, wrinkles, even skin tone. Like, what are we really solving? What we're really solving for is we're talking to people that haven't been spoken to. And the investors that come to me and they say, like, we see where the market is going, and like, we want Latina brands in our portfolio. It's for that reason. It's because they want our dollars. They want our community. You know what I mean? And that is our asset,
Yes, that's our value.
Yeah.
What 3 steps would you recommend for founders looking to elevate their revenue and secure larger investments?
For me, right, I can only speak as like a consumer brand. I don't know anything about like tech and SaaS.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you how to build like, an app. But for consumer, I would say look at all of the different channel opportunities, right? We were just chatting about this before. So yeah, There's Sephora, there's Ulta, there's Target. Cool. But there's also 900,000 salons in this country. So a professional channel. There's also the boutique gift channel. There's also the corporate channel. There's also your D2C channel. And then, of course, there's Amazon, which is going to, eat everyone's lunch at the end of the day. And so I think like we're in the process of doing that now. Like where are the other opportunities for scale that aren't necessarily like maybe what you envisioned, right? So like when I started Nopalera, I wasn't like, and I want to be in Costco, right? That wasn't my like luxurious vision. But I'm like, hella people shop at Costco. You know what I'm saying? And so like, what if the soap was in a 4-pack at Costco?
Their business model is impeccable. It's brilliant.
Airtight, right? And so what if like the soaps, like not the whole line, right? So this is like what we're doing now. Like I look at our assortment like a stock portfolio. Like we don't just put all our eggs in one basket in one retailer or in one product category.
And how can entrepreneurs use brand and identity to their advantage when they're pitching to investors?
Listen, it's all storytelling. Like you have got to be the master storyteller of your brand. That is what people are investing in, again, especially if you're in consumer. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm not selling a technology. You know what I mean? This is like a brand is a feeling. And I think that's the first thing, really narrowing down into that and then speaking from that place and like, why? What is it about your brand that's connecting with people, right? I know why people are connecting with Nopalera because they've never seen a brand called Nopalera in Spanish at Nordstrom with a golden goddess with nopales growing out of her head, right? Like branded in an elevated way. And so, and that was again on purpose because I manufactured the feeling. I worked backwards. This is how I want people to feel when they see the product. It wasn't an accident.
So what internal or cultural beliefs do you think need to change for more of us Latinas to embrace larger financial goals?
So I just talked about this last night at the Latino Donor Collaborative dinner. We love to talk about the challenges, right? Oh, only less than 2% of VC funding goes to Latinas and like access to capital and to resources and like how hard it is. Yes, but honestly, I really believe that the hardest thing is conquering your own mind. And by that, I mean, you have to first believe that you can, that you are worthy, right? That you have the answers inside of you, that you are the asset, that you are the opportunity. It's not something that someone gives you permission to be, right? A lot of us are looking for validation. You know what I mean? It's like, no, it comes from you. The pom-poms are inside of you. You have to be your own cheerleader, right? And then that energy like emanates from you. And then that is like a magnet that attracts people to you. It's not the other way around. You know what I mean? And so to me, the hardest thing, and people ask me this all the time, like, how are you so confident? Like, how do you get over the fear? I'm like, you don't. You just do it. The confidence comes from doing. You do it, you survive. You're like, oh shit, I did that. Okay, let me do it again, right? And so people are like, what book should I read? What podcast should I listen to? I'm like, a podcast and a book is not going to solve you. What people need to understand is that it's a daily commitment to your own evolution. Like, you are an athlete and you are the coach at the same time. Every day I wake up and I visualize that it's already happened, right? Every day I meditate. Every day I'm grateful that what I want has already happened. I'm already in Ulta. I'm already in Target. I've already raised the Series A. Like, how does that feel? Get comfortable with that future version of yourself now. You don't wait until you get there and then you're like, oh, wow, this is why people who win the lottery lose it all because they don't know who that version of themselves is that's wealthy, right? And also, like, you need to take your ceiling and make it your new floor. Like whatever you thought was like, oh, $10,000 is so much money. No, it's not. No, it's not. $10,000 is like 2 months of legal bills for me.
It goes just like that.
Okay. And so whatever you think is like, oh, that's the most that's how much I need. That's all I need, right? Or that's all I can make. I used to think that way, right? So I'm a recovering limiting belief person, right? And it's a commitment to making sure I don't go back there, right? Because if you've been thinking that way for like 40 plus years, you're not going to change it in a day. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you need to work on your mindset every single day. Like that's the thing that people need to do. And that's the hardest part. Nope, people don't want to do the work.
How do you prepare for the challenge of scaling your business while also staying connected to the values that initially inspired you?
Yes. It's a daily looking at the numbers. It's a daily checking in, like making sure, is this product good enough? Do we really need to make it? Do people really need it? Like, a lot of brands make a lot of products, right? And I'm like, they just kind of become commodities. Do you know what I mean? I want every product to mean something, right? I need it to have a good margin, right? And I need to make sure that people want it, they're going to buy it. That's how we make money. We don't make money any other way except for selling products. So everything that we make is very intentional. It takes 2 years to make a new product. So it's by the time we've been working on a body butter for 2 years, and I'm like, are we ever going to come out with this body butter? But we will. But so it's just a constant, every meeting that we have, we look at our core values, right? Like we are a small team, so it's easier to keep a small team on track than if you're running like a 300-person organization, right? But
it doesn't seem like a small team. I mean, for all of the traction that you have made,
yeah.
I mean, you would think you have a whole army behind you with this amazing product.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like it's a big surprise here.
It's 5 Latinas doing 15 jobs.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And they're all Latinas, so we do need to get a white man in here, okay, for some diversity. Everyone is just like hardworking, committed, and it's also about keeping the team in their mindset. What we're just talking about, like, okay, team, we're going into 2025. The 2023 version of yourself is dead. Okay, so now we are like, whatever you thought the ceiling was, you thought like, 90,000 email subscribers is a lot. No, now we're going to go to 200 email subscribers. You need to take your ceiling and make it your new floor. So everyone needs to keep leveling up, right? And so that's my job as a leader, to make sure everyone is like leveling up, and you know what I mean? And like what they think they are capable of. And so it's like, we have weekly meetings where we look at the numbers, we look at the sales, we look at what is selling, what is working, what's not working. And that's a lesson, because last year we only used to have like a monthly all hands meeting, and that wasn't frequent enough. Like that means 12 meetings in a year. No. Every week now, every Monday we have like a 2-hour meeting, and it's like all departments report. It's like D2C metrics, CAC, AOV, LTV, right? Like wholesale. What are the top sellers across both channels? So we're all looking at the data collectively, because it's also important for everyone to understand what's happening in the business. Like, I don't keep it to myself. Everyone knows how much money we have in the bank. And not everyone does that.
No, not everyone is that transparent.
Yeah.
What role does mentorship play in empowering entrepreneurs to aim higher financially? And how did you network to contribute to your success?
So I knew no one in beauty when I started. Remember, I was a musician. So I was literally like, who's in this industry? Right? It's like if you decided to go become like a lead singer of a band, like who? So I knew no one in the industry. So how I built the network was I applied to every pitch competition, every grant, and I applied to every accelerator. So I put myself in new rooms. And that's a piece of advice that I give to everyone. Like, if you want to learn how to play golf, go to the golf course. If you want to go meet investors, just go find one, and then they will know 10, because people know people like themselves. I was a musician, so I know a lot of musicians. You need a bass player? I got you, right? But people with money know other people with money. People without money know other people without money, right? It's just that's how it is. We live in our bubbles, in our economic bubbles, we know people like ourselves. And so that is what I did to build my network. I still do it. I feel like now I can like take a break, because I feel like now I know everyone in beauty. So I don't need to go to every conference anymore.
But I never see you taking a break. And you were always on it, here, there.
I know. I'm trying to say no more. I am saying no more, but I still say yes to some things like this, right, that are important to me. So to me, that's how I got to know Margarita Arriagada, who is a former chief merchant of Sephora. She was the only Latina there. Now that she's retired, there are none. There are some stars out there, right, that people that are showing you what's possible. And now I can call those people. I can text them. I can ask them for advice. And I think I also do that for other entrepreneurs who are behind me. That's why I started the Nopalera podcast, to document the building of this company in real time, to help collapse time for people, right? So you don't have to dig on the internet for things. I'll just tell you.
And you don't have to pay thousands of dollars to attend this.
Yes.
And how do you approach creating a business structure that not only drives profits, but also allows for investment into the community?
So I had to become a C Corp. This is all like the boring back-end stuff, right? But these are the things. When I started Nopalera, it was an LLC. It was under my name. The trademark was under my name, right? So it takes time to do all of this like legal switching, to set up your company to be the kind of company that is investable, right? You want to, in the beginning, you're like, okay, I have $1,000. What should I spend it on? No one wants to hire an accountant. People don't want to pay for trademarks. But I'm like, this is the business. Like, my finance team is robust, right? They're outsourced, but they are robust. I could not do the business without them, right? I have the accounting team for like the past, reconciling the books, AR, AP, and then I have a VP of finance running the financial model, the future cash flow analysis, right? So I can't do that all by myself. It's the job of 4 people. So having like strong, like understanding your financial model, having a financial model, because you're going to be asked for that, obviously, for investors, right? They want to see what are you doing in the next 3 years. They want your financials in GAAP accounting format. They want to make sure you're C Corp, all of these things, right? So that took time to learn and like move things in that and like turn it over to be that way. And now we're set up for that. But I think this is the stuff no one wants to talk about. No one wants to talk about accounting. Right? No one's talking about like, oh, the financial model and the forecast, but this is the business, right?
Yes.
Like now I'm so deeply dialed into the numbers that's what I look for when I scan the P&L. I'm like, I want to know what is the percentage of the freight and fulfillment as a percentage of revenue? What is the percentage of marketing as a percentage of revenue? Head count. These are the things that you can control, right? And obviously margin, right? Your gross margin, if you're a product-based business, we're always trying to improve our margins. And that also takes time because moving manufacturing partners takes time, getting new samples, formulas, all of that takes time. But that's the real business.
That's so true. So you have already accomplished so much in such a short time. I mean, it's unbelievable. And, we are all here cheering you on. What are you dreaming bigger about next?
Yes. So I haven't actually said this publicly, but I actually had this like download last week when I was in Milwaukee. I was giving a keynote for the Hispanic professionals of Greater Milwaukee. And I had, it was not a huge audience. It was like less than 200 people. But I had product, they all bought it. They even bought the samples. Like they were just like, we want to buy everything. So they sold me out. And a lot of men there, professional men, they were like, when are you coming out with a men's line? I was like, we've been asked this question before. Listen, I can make anything with money. I can make a baby line. I can make a men's line. I can make a home line. I can make a Nopalera boutique hotel experience. We can do, the brand is so strong that it lends itself to cross categories. Mm-hmm. And so I just had this idea, like, we could build a Latino beauty empire. Do you know what I mean? Like the Latino Unilever, where it's all like we're servicing everybody. Because right now it has been mostly women, right? Beauty, obviously, mostly women shoppers. Mm-hmm. But men shave, they shower, right? And I'm like, yeah, I would love to create like an assortment for them too, right? That way the women who are shopping, who are doing the shopping anyway, would just buy something for the men in their lives at the same time, right? They buy something for themselves and something for the men. And so that's how I'm thinking bigger in terms of like where this could go, which is really exciting. Of course, it requires capital, right? But in the interim, like in the next 12 months, what we are betting on is one of the big beauty retailers bringing us in. So that really is like Ulta or Sephora. And Ulta's going into Mexico next year. They're opening 10 stores in Mexico City with a plan to open 100 stores over 5 years in Mexico. Because why? Because
they get it.
Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And so
we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. They love beauty products too. And so that is kind of what's the most immediate next. And so we will know that soon because we've been in talks with them for a while. And then we just have all of these other opportunities that are popping up, like we were talking about the professional channel. There's so many spas, right? We make incredible body products that could be part of their services, right? We are in talks with airline and hotel amenity companies. So I just had a meeting with a big, won't say their name, a big,
magical company.
Magical TV company. And I think it's worth noting that these companies are coming to me. This is not me knocking on the door and being like, hey, they're coming to me. And because, again, there's just not enough premium Latina brands on the market. So when people are searching, we always come up in the search because there's so few of us, right, at scale. So every year, like, we're about to close out the year soon. And every year I'm like, okay, next year I'm going to travel less. We're going to plan better. It's going to be less chaotic. And I'm always wrong. It's always crazy. It's always like I'm traveling way more than I think I'm going to because opportunities continue to come to us. And so we obviously want to take advantage of them,
Well, so proud of you. So excited to see Nopalera continue to grow and go in everybody's households. And
Thank
appreciate
you.
you being here and sharing your dynamic, extraordinary story. You definitely inspire so many women globally to see what is possible. And I mean, it's unbelievable.
Thank you. I'm so happy
you.
to be
Thank
here with
you.
you. And you too. You're killing it.
Thank you.
So thank you.
This episode of Her Money Moves is presented by Cricket, celebrating Latina entrepreneurs.